Hello everybody, welcome in. Happy Wednesday. You made it to Trackalicious for the round number 6. At Paul Ricard for the GT3 and GT4 Multi-Class Championship. I am Kush Terekov leading you from the commentary box today. And it is going to be an interesting one once again, with the weather being quite a variable factor at Paul Ricard tonight. The qualifying conditions were pretty dry throughout the week. Drivers were able to get some pretty quick lap times in the qualifying session. But now in the practice server, or practice session I should say, here before the race, it is nice and soaked. And right off the bat, thank you to Mr. Dubois for the subscription. Welcome back to the podium. You've been there for a little over a year, for 15 months. So welcome back. Hope you've been enjoying the time here at Trackalicious. Let's go to said wet Paul Ricard and look at how the conditions are stacking up right now. Just a couple of minutes left in the free practice session before we get going for the 75-minute race we have ahead of us at round number 6. Rain's starting to die down a little bit. Certainly will be interesting to keep track of that. Cheers to Xander and Dr. Porkchop for the hydrates. Certainly gonna keep myself nice and hydrated for what is presumably going to be a lot of action tonight around these changing conditions. Once again, we've seen it for so many races in this season, where the weather playing a factor in the strategy, with those 2 mandatory pit stops to think about as well. Camera focused here on Justin Beachley. He is your GT4 championship leader, sitting on top with 89 points and 3 race wins to his name. Behind him is Alex Freeman in that yellow and black GT4 Aston Martin, just a few cars down in the pit lane. He sits in second with 76 points, 13 behind. And a reminder, it is 23 points for the race win. So certainly still lots to play for with the 3 remaining rounds we have left. Andres Mostachero follows them in the championship standings in third with 73 points, just 3 behind Alex Freeman, and he has a handful of podiums to his name as well. Almost was able to get the race win last week, but just a little fuel miscalculation made him go on the dry tires early, or on the wet tires early, excuse me, and that threw a little bit of a wrench in his progress, but still able to get on the podium and sitting in third place, 26 points behind championship leader Justin Beachley, or excuse me, not 26, 16 points behind Justin Beachley. In fourth is Diego Mostachero, 2 points back with 71, and then Brian DeSantiago rounds out the top 5 with 62 points. And just to remind you, these drivers did complete their qualifying sessions, or their qualifying laps, throughout the week. So once this practice session ends, we are going to be going green, and with a grid walk of how the grid stacks up for tonight. And this is how your GT3 championship looks, with Ilpo Ruotsalainen leading the way with 93 points, 3 race wins at the top. He is followed by Kevin Yu in the Lightning McQueen Ferrari. He is in second with 87 points, just 6 points back, 2 race wins to Kevin Yu's name. In third is Brian Zerline with 69 points, nice. And then Jim Reynolds follows him just 1 point back with 68. Devin Anthony rounds out the top 5 with 64 points.
Alright, conditions are wet. We have some slippery curves, and also watch out for your braking distance.
So we heard it there. Conditions are wet. Watch out for those braking points. Let's start our grid walk with the GT4s. On pole position, we have Alex Freeman, second place driver in the championship, looking to get another race win under his name for the season. He will start ahead of Potts Weaver sharing that front row with him in the number 13 Potts Autosport McLaren. Starting from third is championship leader Justin Beachley, switching over from the Cat car over to the Kermit Beach GT number 18 AMG. He shares the second row with Dr. Porkchop, sitting in fourth in the Chop Shop Racing number 71 Aston Martin. There we got 3 Aston Martins in a row in the GT4. In the middle is Andres Mostachero of the Naps team. He is in the 105, starting from 5th. And it's an all Mostachero third row with Diego starting in 6th in the number 48 Naps team Aston Martin. Following them, we have the 777 BMW of Brian DeSantiago starting from 7th in the NPG Racing machine. The all too familiar purple and silver car for Brian. Behind him, Gabriel Frere in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. Number 27 starts from 8th place. Lots more on the GT3 grid than the GT4 grid tonight, and leading the 14 GT3s from pole position. He's done it lots of times this season. It's Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the Castrol Toms 404 Lexus. Alongside him is Dan Tazzaro in the Turn 1 420 Aston Martin GT3. In third place is Kevin Yu. He sits in second place in the championship in the number 95 Rust Ease Ferrari. And Mario Augusto Mariano makes it an all-Ferrari second row. He starts from 4th in the number 45 Fair Play Race Ferrari. Starting in the top 5 is Jim Reynolds in the BJ Racing 313 McLaren. He shares the third row with Devin Anthony in the 664 Honda in the Noobs Are Us livery. Behind them is Brian Zerline in 7th in the BJ Racing number 25 Mustang. Alongside him, the McLaren of Mateus Medeiros in the Land Team number 96. Tony Gold in the number 91 Coach Dave Academy BMW starting from 9th. Rounding out the top 10 is Ray Roman, and he makes it an all BMW 5th row in the GT3s in the 117. Got Eric Vanderbolt starting from 11th in the Practice Safe Apex's number 7 Nissan. He shares the row with Rally Dutchy in the Mad Fox Sim Racing 621 BMW. On the 7th row, leading them off is Eric Gukassian in the Practice Safe Apex's number 55 Nissan. And then you have Vladimir Beluga in 14th in the Beluga Racing Team number 5 McLaren. That is how the grid stacks up tonight. Conditions are wet, and they're going to get worse in about 30 minutes with the rain increasing. In about 10 minutes also. The rain will increase, making the conditions just ever so trickier for the drivers. And we'll see exactly where the weather takes us. 7 a.m. local time. Not a lot of time for the track to heat up and try and clear some of that water away. That is how the 22 car grid looks behind Ilpo Ruotsalainen. Diego Mostachero, unfortunately, having to start from the pits here, as he would have started from 6th, now starts from the pits and the back of the GT4 field. He will have to wait at the end of the pit lane until the rest of the cars have passed, and the green light at the end will release him for the 75 minutes of racing. Paul Ricard characterized, of course, by the long straight at the back. 1.1 miles of straightaway, foot to the floor for about 30 seconds. Hope the drivers brought a book to read in the meantime while they were going down that straight, because it can take quite a while to get down from start to finish. But of course, you have to turn your laser focus right on once you get to the end of the straight with this incredibly quick right-hander at Senior. And the track just keeps closing and closing and closing on itself through this corner here. A good opportunity to go side by side as the apex then switches in the next corner from the outside to the inside. Should see some pretty good racing out here tonight. Lots of colors popping in this overcast day. As the grid gets set, side by side, through the final few corners they go. And round number 6 will get underway. Just 3 rounds remaining in the championship, of course. Will Ilpo be able to hang on to the lead of the championship after tonight? Can Kevin Yu find some pace in the Ferrari behind?
Green light. Go, go, go.
And the green flag waves, the green lights go. 75 minutes of racing lies ahead of us. Ilpo getting a good getaway into turn 1 already ahead of the Aston Martin. Kevin Yu having a look down the inside of Dan Tazaro. He's trying to make that move stick. He's gonna have to go for the over-under. Mariano under pressure from Jim Reynolds as well. Looking nice and clean from the GT3 field at the front. Jim Reynolds thinking about having a look. Mariano leaving a little bit of space for Jim Reynolds to try to take advantage, but he's sliding all over the place and gets tapped by Devin Anthony, and the McLaren just loses all of the grip at the rear and goes spinning off. Unfortunate incident, really. Nothing that Devin Anthony could do. The McLaren was kind of losing the rear end already as it was coming up to that corner. And let's take a look at the GT4's Alex Freeman dropping a few places to 3rd. Potts Weaver maintains 2nd place, and Justin Beachley gets the race lead in the GT4's from the start. But Potts Weaver is looking pretty racy in that McLaren, and they're going to go side by side down the Mistral straight. On lap 1, the McLaren already ahead of the AMG, and Potts Weaver will take the lead. The 2 Nissans riding together, unfortunately for Vanderbilt, losing a few places to Beluga, and Jim Reynolds finds himself ahead of the pair of Nissans after being on the receiving end of a light tap after already having lost the rear end just that slight bit. Look at this GT3 grid into the final sector. Who is going to lead who? The 2 BMWs collide. The 3 BMWs collide. And Tony Gold gets spun out into the runoff area onto that blue and red highly abrasive surface to stop the cars as he tries to rejoin the field. Gets in the way of oh my goodness, can't speak. Of a few of the GT3s there, excuse me, GT4s. Ray Roman moves up to 8th place. Jim Reynolds behind Rally Dutchy, ahead of Eric Gukasian, who leads the 2 Nissans. The 2 Aston Martins and the GT4s going side by side. Alex Freeman trying to hang on to 3rd. Andres Bocachero started from 5th, looking to make up ground early on, and Alex Freeman late on the brakes, able to hold it through turn 3 and 4. These 2 Aston Martins gonna have a pretty good battle with Brian DeSantiago getting close behind. Meanwhile, Potts Weaver and Justin Beachley trying to hang on to the tail of that McLaren as best as he can. Tony Gold slicing and dicing his way through the GT4s there weaving left from right, getting ahead of both of them now. And so Beachley and Potts-Weaver can continue their battle, but that McLaren just absolutely running away in a straight line. However, the two Aston Martins are gonna go almost side by side. Alex Freeman sweeping through around the outside, maintains his third place position. Medeiros running a little bit wide up ahead in the GT3s. Ray Roman looking to make up another position as he tries to take 7th place. Medeiros once again forced to the outside there and can't really defend on that wet track. Can't keep the grip, and that's a position gained for the 117 up to 7th. He's got Brian Zerline about 1.5 seconds up the road. Through the corners here, Justin Beachley able to make up so much ground on the McLaren, but here, even down the not so lengthy start-finish straight, Potts-Weaver just able to hang on to that lead. Jim Reynolds getting ahead of the BMW of Rally Dutchie, who's trying to fight back through the inside. Jim Reynolds runs a little bit deep, leaves the space. Beluga getting a drive-through that might be for track limits. Already just 5 minutes into this race, Beluga with the drive-through. And Rally Dutchie able to hold on to that place despite losing it to Jim Reynolds earlier on. Now it's a drag race down the Mistral Straight. And here the Mustang, the BMW, then the McLaren of Medeiros before Rally Dutchie and Jim Reynolds work their way through. Just a light tap on the brakes before slinging the car all the way to the right. You want to get over to the right-hand side before those little markers, or that will be a track limit violation, as Rally Dutchie almost runs a little bit wide, but able to keep it within the asphalt there. If you run a little bit wide there, that blue surface just really wants to grab the tires and pull you in, but he's able to avoid it and keeps the grip and keeps position ahead of Jim Reynolds. Ilpo Ruotsalainen building a healthy lead over Dan Tazzaro. It's right around 4 seconds. As there is the orange and black Aston coming into picture, as Ilpo going through turn 4 and 5, where he works his way on to the Mistral Straight. Kevin Yu, the gap between him and Tazzaro ebbing and flowing, it's right around that 2-second mark. Perhaps just waiting for the right moment to attack, waiting for that rain to increase. Maybe the tires just not quite up to the right pressures yet, or down to the right pressures even. Ray Roman now having to defend mightily from Mateus Medeiros in the 96. And this quad of cars working their way onto the Mistral Straight. Unfortunately for Roman, he doesn't have a car in front to give him any slipstream, unlike Medeiros, who tucks right under the wing of that BMW as he looks to make up the ground, but it's Rally Dutchie who gets the double slipstream. He might take 2 places here, and they're gonna try to run 3 wide. Rally Dutchie down the inside. What a move from the 621. 2 cars in one go, takes the double slipstream, pulls out at the right moment, but runs a little bit deep. The 117 goes down the inside, and he's gonna lose 1 place to fellow BMW driver, or can he fight it back? Like we said here, outside turns to inside. There's a little bit of side-by-side contact. The 117 forced a little bit wide. Medeiros, just a BMW roadblock up ahead of him, and Rally Dutchie hangs on to 7th. A drift from the 621, contact with the 117, the 2 McLarens. just having to bump into each other behind, nowhere they could really go. Oh, more side-by-side contact. That's Rally Dutchy and Eric Vanderbilt in the Nissan trying to work his way through as well. So after that fantastic move at the end of the Mistral straight, a little bit of an oversteer moment at the final corner for Rally Dutchy. Sees him lose a few places. Alex Freeman looking to get involved in the mix here as the top two battling hard, getting slowing each other down, I should say, allowing Alex Freeman to close that gap. He is right on the tail of Justin Beachley. At the end of the Mistral straight, Jim Reynolds trying to get the position on Medeiros. He got it momentarily earlier on in the lap, but down the straight, Medeiros able to take it back. So Jim Reynolds in 9th, looking to get 8th as Ray Roman looking to run away as the cars behind slowing each other down while they've continued to battle on. This is the view from Potts Weaver as now the lead trio in the GT4s work their way down to the end of the Mistral straight. Alex Freeman and Justin Beachley bumping each other, side-by-side contact, and Alex Freeman with the straight line speed able to get through and takes the inside away. Will Justin Beachley have an answer back into turn number 9? Alex Freeman hanging on, just about able to keep the grip, doesn't run onto that blue surface. And Potts Weaver gets a drive through, the GT4 leader, falling victim to running out of track limits too many times. And the 13 McLaren will have to take a visit down the pit lane. Beluga in the pits to serve his drive-through now. Will Potts Weaver sling in early, or will he wait until a good moment for him? He's going to continue to wait it out. Alex Freeman up to 2nd after that move down the end of the Mistral straight, just hanging on in the slipstream, pulling out at the right moment. A little bit of side-by-side contact with the AMG. And Andres Postachero is looking pretty close as well. Try and get a place. And there is Potts Weaver letting the top two go through. Alex Freeman inherits the race lead. Justin Beachley, late move. He's going to try to go through. And that's a great move from the 18 AMG to take the race lead back. Oh, contact between the McLaren, Andres Mostachero and Alex Freeman getting caught. Unfortunately, the worst there. So he's going to have to wait a little bit. And for all those cars to go through, losing a position to Dr. Porkchop and Brian de Santiago as well. Jim Reynolds falling back a few places behind Eric Vanderbilt and Rally Dutchy. Number 7 Nissan having a good recovery after being at the back of the grid. Currently riding in 9th. He's about 1.3 seconds to gain on Medeiros ahead. With Rally Dutchy battling with Jim Reynolds here in the BMW and the McLaren. Oh, and Jim Reynolds having to cut through turn 1. Right as I look away from the screen, something exciting happens. As per usual. Potts Weaver still not going into the pits for that drive-through. He's got one more lap he can go before absolutely having to serve it. So that will promote Andres Mostachero up to second place. He will try to chase down Justin Beachley and try to get that well-earned race win he missed out on last week. And similar conditions to what we experienced through most of the season, I should say, really, with these wet conditions potentially might be drying up. The rain is increasing in about 10 minutes, but it should stay about the same. And what is the strategy call for the drivers tonight? Did they fuel their cars up to go absolutely long? I remember last week, Tyler Morgan, co-commentator, was absolutely bamboozled by Justin Beachley's strategy of going as long as possible on that first stint. Some drivers already completing both of their pit stops before having to, or excuse me, completing both their pit stops before Justin Beachley even completed his first. And here is that McLaren straight line speed proving its advantage down the inside of Senia. They go. Andres Mostachero, nothing he can do there. A bit of a sitting duck in the straight compared to the McLaren. Everybody is in the GT4 class, really. Tony Gold goes into the pits in the number 91 BMW. Is this a scheduled pit stop, or is he having to come in and repair a little bit of damage on the car? Gabriel Frere also receiving a stop go 30. What happened with Gabriel Frere? He must have been speeding in the pits. But he doesn't look like he completed any pit stops because he still has the 2 in orange next to his name. That is the number of mandatory pit stops our drivers must complete throughout the event. Potts Weaver in to serve the drive-through. That will move a majority of the GT4 field up a position. Mostachero makes his way back up to second. Brian DeSantiago up to third. Dr. Porkchop now in fourth. And Alex Freeman all over the back of fellow Aston Martin driver Dr. Porkchop. The AF Sport looking to make up ground after losing a few places with contact after the exit of turn 5. Gaps up the front, opening up, settling down a little bit. Ilpo now with a 6-second lead over Dan Tazzaro, and he has about a 7-second advantage over Kevin Yu in third. And it's about 10 seconds to Mario Augusto Mariano, excuse me, who sits in fourth place. And then a 15-second gap to Devin Anthony, and Brian Zerline applying the pressure to try and get a top 5 position in the number 25 Mustang. But here, Alex Freeman trying to get a 4th place position from 71 Aston Martin driver Dr. Porkchop ahead. It's the season of the Olympics. It's American Alex Freeman versus Canadian Dr. Porkchop. Alex Freeman down the inside. He got squeezed and was still able to get the move done. Well done, Alex Freeman, for hanging on to that position inside. And Dr. Porkchop, very experienced driver, knows exactly where to leave the space. And so good respect from him. Pushing Alex Freeman to make him have to make the move. And that's some good work from the 2 Aston Martin drivers. See how it looks on board from Jim Reynolds. Wiper fully active spray from the car coming onto the windshield as well. The BJ Racing 313 McLaren looks to close in on Rally Dutchy, but the gap just maintains right around that 1 second mark. And the 313 just unable to make up ground here in the early goings of the race. Still very early, still haven't even gone for 20 minutes, 57 minutes remain. As there was a brief yellow flag in front. I believe that was for Eric Vanderbilt, who briefly went off track at this corner here, but able to keep the Nissan going Brian DeSantiago starting from 7th, up to 3rd now in the early goings of the race here, with Potts Weaver having to serve the drive through. A bit of contact from Alex Freeman, made up a position on Dr. Porkchop, and now trying to pressure Andres Mostachero for 2nd place. The gap is 1.5 seconds between the BMW and the 105 Naps team Aston Martin. That blue, or excuse me, that not blue, the red, gold, and black Aston there being driven by Andres and Diego Mostachero. And Alex Freeman is closing in on these podium sitters. That's Tony Gold behind. This is technically for position, but Tony Gold already in the pits to serve one of his 2 mandatory pit stops of the evening. Jim Reynolds continuing to battle with Rally Dutchy, and it looks like he was able to make his way through. He was. BMW now behind with the slipstream. Can Rally Dutchy fight back? Medeiros in the number 96 McLaren also going into the pits, and it looks like the rain's going to increase in 30 minutes, so we may have a wet one from start to finish here. The BMW straight line speed absolutely on full display here down the end of the Mistral Straight. Can Rally Dutchy keep it within track limits and get the position? It's a little bit slow on corner exit. Can Jim Reynolds take advantage going into turn 9? Trying to get the over-under run, but that BMW just able to maintain so much speed through the corner. Down the inside, a bit of a late move. Not a lot of room given as well. And Jim Reynolds, after getting the place in Sector 1, can't hold on down the end of the straight. Trying to get a better exit out of that final corner, and into turn 1 they go. Not that heavy of a braking zone, especially in the rain. A lot trickier to get the move done than in the dry. A bit of a slow exit for Rally Dutchy though. Once again through Sector 1, Jim Reynolds trying to take 9th place away. And he just can't quite do it on this lap here once again. But Rally Dutchy runs a little bit wide, opens the door on the inside of turn 6. Jim Reynolds sweeps on through. Can he hang on to it this time, or will Rally Dutchy use that straight line speed of the BMW once again to get on through? And already on the back and through he goes. Nothing that Jim Reynolds can do. He can't push the pedal any harder. He wishes he could though. He wishes he had an extra gear on board as well. But once again, that BMW straight line speed able to allow Rally Dutchy to fight through. Kevin Yu in the pits from 3rd. Number 95 Ferrari making one of the 2 mandatory visits down the pit lane. Jim Reynolds getting a better exit. Once again, not a lot of room given by the BMW. No place for Jim Reynolds to stick that nose. And it's great defensive driving from Rally Dutchy. Jim Reynolds trying to keep the speed, just about keeping it within track limits there. And he is forced to look at the back of the BMW for another go around at Paul Ricard. Alex Freeman gets through Brian DeSantiago. He's back into a podium position. Down the end of the straight, That's Dan Tazaro in the 420 Aston Martin working his way through. Andres Mostachero got by these two these two GT4s, I was going to say, a little bit ago as well, allowing now Brian DeSantiago to battle with Alex Freeman. He was going to try to use Alex Freeman as a slipstream to try and help him towards Andres Mostachero. Justin Beachley doing a good job of growing the gap. The second place sitter. The gap between the two GT4s at the top is 7.5 seconds. So Jim Reynolds gets through, and at the end of the Mistral Straight, he hangs on to the place. Can he do it here down the inside of turn 9? A bit of a bump from Rally Dutchie on the back of the McLaren pushes him onto the blue surface. And the BMW, I think, just hanging on down the inside, waiting for the McLaren to go through. And just like that, Alex Freeman on the back of Andres Mostachero, and Brian DeSantiago hanging on with Alex Freeman to try and join this Aston Martin duo in their battle. Only a handful of drivers stopping for one of those two mandatory pit stops for now. Still a long way to go in this one. 50 minutes remain. And as always, those trips down the pit lane can be costly. Very important to practice those pit entrances and exits. Get everything absolutely nailed. Of course, some drivers might be repairing a bit of damage as well. Onto the cars, Andres Mostachero runs deep on the exit of turn 10. Can Alex Freeman fight and try and chase Justin Beachley for the race lead ahead? He wants the position. He wants it now. He goes down the inside and into the final corner. Can Andres fight back? Alex Freeman leaves just enough space. Andres Mostachero trying to carry the speed. They're going to fight side by side down the start-finish straight, and there goes Brian DeSantiago into the pits. Alex Freeman has the inside, has a bit of position ahead of Andres as well, and he's gonna go into second place. No room for the 105 Aston Martin to go absolutely anywhere, and that is a great overtake by Alex Freeman to not only get the move done, but not allow the 105 a chance to fight back. The 45 Ferrari joins Brian DeSantiago in the pits here, as Andres drifting through turn 6. He's gonna have to hold it. He does hold it. Well done to the 105. And we've got a busy pit lane now. Rally Dutchie and Potts Weaver joining Mariano and DeSantiago. Vladimir Beluga gets another drive-through for track limits here. And Alex Freeman must be running absolutely no arrow on that setup. He's just able to pull away from the 105 despite Andres Mostachero having the slipstream. That is the gap between Brian Zerline in 4th and Devin Anthony in 3rd. With a bit of GT4 traffic ahead, the Honda might be slowed down a little bit more than the Ford here. And Brian Zerline hopefully trying, for his sake, to take advantage. And the Honda, meanwhile, trying to work his way swiftly through the GT4 cars. Try and not get held up. At the moment, it's the 48 of Diego Mostachero that lies in between the two GT3s. And here, Brian Zerline, fortunately for him, able to just pass the GT4 at a very opportune moment down the start-finish straight, with Devin Anthony losing about half a second just in that sector alone. On board with the Mustang. The spray doesn't look too bad in these slow speed corners, but once they get up to speed, and especially down the end of the straight, he's just having to ease onto the power ever so gently, try and not lose any grip on the rear end. And does the V8 powered Ford have an answer to the Honda up ahead? And he absolutely has an answer. He is blistering pace down the straight. And with the slipstream, with the power, he gets ahead and gets himself up into third place ahead of Devin Anthony. Great move from Brian Zerline. Oh, and a bit of an oversteer moment. That forces Andres Mostachero to almost check up a little bit, as he is now kind of forced to the outside here. Devin Anthony taking full advantage of that inside line to try and hang on to Brian Zerline. Devin Anthony hanging in close though with that Honda. The 664 doesn't want to give any breathing room to the cars up ahead. I should say car up ahead. Brian Zerline in the 25 Mustang. The top 7 remain to complete their pit stop. Kevin Yu slots in between Jim Reynolds and Eric Gukasian. And the 55 Nissan also still having to complete those 2 pit stops. Justin Beachley and Andres Mostachero, and Diego Mostachero as well. Top 3 in the GT4s, still with the 2 mandatory pit stops. Alex Freeman now with a visit down the pit lane. Will he maintain his position ahead of Brian DeSantiago? He does, and he does so comfortably. There is the 777 purple BMW in the background there, but still within touching distance, the gap right around 5 seconds. Dan Tazzaro in the pits from second in the 420 Aston Martin. Let's ride with him down the pit lane. Down the heavy bump he goes, getting the car stopped and letting the pit crew get to work. Now for these pit stops, there is a 25-second mandatory refueling time. And then it is up to the driver's discretion whether they want to repair any damage they may have on the car. And I think that was Rally Dutchy returning to the pits. That was. He must have had an incident there. The BMW just spawned in. And Dan Tazaro narrowly able to hang on to second ahead of Kevin Yu. That gap was around 7 seconds before both of these drivers completing one pit stop, and Kevin Yu able to take advantage of the clean air on offer and shrinks that gap to right around 1 second. Could be a different strategy call as well. It looks like Devin Yu electing not to take any new tires on his pit stop. He did also come in a little bit early, so perhaps just running 2 light fuel stints before running a big heavy one at the end on those new tires. Still 40 minutes of racing, of course. 1 mandatory pit stop completed for most of the field. Ilpo Ruotsalainen maintains his lead after 17 laps of driving. When will we see a visit down the pit lane from the 404? In seasons past in the GT4s, he liked to come in early when the GT3 traffic was approaching, but now with that lead being pretty comfortable at the front, he has run 35 minutes so far into this one. As Brian Zerline and Devin Anthony both go into the pit lane at the same time, so it's a race between the Hondas and the Ford's pit crew. Brian Zerline's box earlier than Devin Anthony's. He came in ahead of the Honda as well. Will they elect to go on different strategies here? What is the call for the Mustang? So Ilpo and Roman and Eric Gukassian remain the GT3s, yet to complete a single pit stop. Brian Zerline out of the pit box, trundling down at pit lane speed. Will he hold on to the place ahead of the Honda? Just narrowly, the Honda getting dropped right as the Ford rolled by, and that gap is going to be very close. No, but Brian Zerline getting a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and it's a stop-go 30 as well. Excuse me, Jim Reynolds also yet to complete a pit stop. So the top 4 there in the GT3s getting caught up to here by Dan Tazaro. He's on the back of the 313, forces his way through. Jim Reynolds having to go well wide to avoid the 420, just charging through on fresher tires. And that gap already growing to Kevin Yu to 2 seconds. So now Kevin Yu trying to get by Jim Reynolds, who gives him the inside line, runs a little bit onto that blue surface, but able to keep the McLaren right about behind the number 95, allowing Kevin Yu to chase down Dan Tazaro ahead. He's got the fresher rubber though, Kevin Yu, running on this compound from the start of the race. Presumably.
Halfway through, keep pushing.
There you hear it. We are halfway into this one, folks. Eric Vanderbilt in the pits. We've got a Naps team battle going on here. The 48 catching up to the 105. Diego versus Andres. Race leader in the box as well, the 404 Lexus. Brian Zerline serving his stop-go 30 right off the bat on this lap. As Andres is ahead of Diego, he is going to be giving him a slight advantage behind with that slipstream. And it is quite a mighty one with a 1.1 mile straightaway. Diego having a look down the inside. They're going to go side by side through turn 9. Can Andres hold on? The outside turns into the inside here at turn 10. Oh, and the 48 tried to sweep across the front, but nowhere for Andres to go. His car was still there. And unfortunately for Diego, getting spun around and losing a bit of time. Ray Roman in the pits from what was the race lead. We'll see exactly where the 117 slots in as Andres coming into the pit lane here. Diego not following him as the 48 continues to circulate. After the pit stop, Eric Vanderbilt in 9th. Going to gain a few places with Eric Gukassian, teammate in the 55 Nissan, and Ray Roman there in the pits, just coming out behind this duo of Vanderbilt and Devin Anthony. The Honda and the Nissan, the two Japanese manufacturers, having a battle here at Paul Ricard. Riding on board with the number 7, occupying 7th. The number matches the position, but he does not care about that. He wants as many places as he can. The Honda trying to find all of the grip, and down the Mistral straight, Eric Vanderbilt pulling alongside the Honda already at the start and getting ahead. Nothing that the Honda can do there other than just tuck into the slipstream and try and stay close to Eric Vanderbilt, who gets himself up to 6th now. Quite a hefty gap to Mariano up ahead. It's about 25 seconds. But still lots of time to go. In these wet conditions, absolutely anything can happen. And Ray Roman going through the inside of turn 9 of the BMW. He goes up to 7th place. And now trying to stay close to Eric Vanderbilt to try and get 6th. Justin Beachley in the pits from the GT4 race lead. Has Alex Freeman put in a good stint here after his pit stop to try and challenge Justin Beachley for that race lead? Alex Freeman going through the final corner now. And Justin Beachley rolling out of the pit box, releasing the pit limiter. He's gonna stay ahead, it looks like, for the meantime. But Alex Freeman did put in quite a mighty effort. He's closed that gap down. Right around 1.5 seconds between the two leaders in the GT4s. Devin Anthony in the pits for a second time Oh no, it looked like he had dry tires on the car. Just a quick glance, I thought I saw some yellow writing on those tires. Maybe that's why he was losing so many positions. Just no grip in these absolutely wet conditions on those dry tires. Fortunately for him, he's already completed both of his mandatory pit stops, so he can run all the way to the end and has a good bit of clean air in front as well. Not a lot of GT4 cars in front either. So if he can put in a good stint here and take advantage of this pace that he has, he might just be able to sneak a top 5 position still. And Ray Roman getting through Eric Vanderbilt through Sector 3. The BMW making up 2 places after the pit stop right off the bat. Diego Mostachero goes into the pits, and here we go. The battle is on. Justin Beachley back in the pits immediately. Did he have the same issue? Are there dry tires on the number 18? It doesn't look like it, but he's back in the pits. Oh, he's serving a drive-through. That's why. The number 18, the race leader, getting a drive-through. So Alex Freeman, with the easiest move of his life, gets back up to that top spot. Diego comes out of the pits ahead of Brian DeSantiago. And Justin Beachley. So Justin Beachley drops down to 5th. Alex Freeman in 1st. Diego Mostachero here is in 2nd place. Brian DeSantiago was running in 3rd, but he gets a drive-through for track limits as well. Throw in the Oprah, you get a drive-through, you get a drive-through, and you get a drive-through, and just Justin Beachley already taking a place. He's up to 4th, gets ahead of Andres Mostachero. But the 105 Aston's gonna fight back. They're already side by side at the start of the straight, and with Dan Tazzaro going through, who's gonna take the slipstream? They continue to go side by side. Andres Mostachero ever so slightly pulls ahead. Justin Beachley tucks in behind, and he can't take 4th place away just yet. Just about keeping it within track limits. And after the pit stops, Diego gets ahead of Andres, who had quite a lengthy stop. It was around 10 seconds longer than usual, perhaps just fixing a bit of damage on the 105. But nonetheless, he now maintains position ahead of Justin Beachley, and this is for true position. They've both completed a pit stop. Justin Beachley just having to come in to serve a drive-through penalty as well. As Brian DeSantiago does so on this lap here. So that will promote Andres Mostachero up to 3rd and onto the podium. So now Justin Beachley in 4th, trying to get back onto the podium. Places Kevin Yu going a little bit deep. He's going to have to wait. No room to rejoin there just yet. Great awareness from the number 95 Ferrari, knowing that Justin Beachley just on the racing line there, nowhere for him to go other than to cut the track. So just patiently waiting to get onto the Mistral straight to try and get the overtake done on these GT4 cars ahead. And so down the straight we go. Justin Beachley behind Andres Mostachero, trying to use any and all of the slipstream given to him. Goes behind the Ferrari momentarily, and now Andres will do the same. But it looks like the straight line speed of the Aston Martin being aided by the number 95 Ferrari ahead, able to hang on to that final podium position. Forcing Justin Beachley to have to think about a move somewhere else. And with under 30 minutes remaining, the forecast predicting wet running all the way to the end. So unlike the other races, not a lot of variable conditions tonight. Eric Gukasian getting a drive-through. That's the 664 Honda of Devin Anthony, trying to get the overtake done on the GT4s, but not interrupt the battle. But unfortunately for Justin Beachley, it has done just that. Ryan Zerline in the pits for his second and final time. Same with the 313 of Jim Reynolds. The BJ Racing team hard at work getting both of those cars in and out of the pits. Looks like his pit box is all the way at the end there. As Justin Beachley still all over the back of Andres Mostachero. But once again, down the straight, the 104 going to be helped by Vladimir Beluga going through in the GT3 as well to give him a bit of a slipstream aid by the end of the Mistral straight. After the pits, the 313 McLaren of Jim Reynolds was that his first pit stop? That must have been his first. Huh. Indeed, that was his first visit down the pit lane. So he was in and gets ahead of fellow McLaren driver Mateus Medeiros. The two McLarens going to battle for 7th and 8th here. Back of Jim Reynolds' car. The yellow, blue, and green of Mateus Medeiros, very prominent in the mirrors, very bright on this overcast day. You will certainly know that McLaren is there and trying to push him hard and get that 7th place. Jim Reynolds runs wide. He's going to have to slow down to try to avoid getting a track limit violation. That allows Medeiros to get that 7th place. Botsweber completing his second and final pit stop of the night. So he comes out of the pits in 5th. So Jim Reynolds now on the hunt for Medeiros. Doesn't want to allow the 96 to get ahead by too much. He wants as much of that slipstream help as he can get. Rally Dutchie gets a drive-through for track limits as well. My goodness. Tony Gold completing his second and final pit stop in the 91 BMW. Now for position, Devin Anthony gets ahead of Eric Gaussian, who picks up a drive-through, as does Vladimir Beluga. With 20 minutes to go, the drive-throughs begin to fly. Jim Reynolds goes a little bit deep into turn one, just allowing Medeiros that little bit more room up ahead. Oh, and going deep as well, and he gets a drive-through for doing so! Like we said, in the wet, absolutely anything can happen. And what's happening here is people are getting caught out by the track limits. Beachley coming into the pits for his second and final stop. It's going to be a 20-minute sprint roughly for him to the end. After being able to pass Andres Mostachero, provided a good defense to hang on to that final podium position. And Justin Beachley get the undercut done. Ray Roman goes up to fourth with Mariano in the pit lane. It's Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the lead by roughly 18 seconds. He leads Dan Tazzaro, and then Kevin Yu rounds out the podium in the GT3s. You've got Ray Roman and Eric Vanderbilt rounding out the top five, and those drivers still yet to complete their final mandatory pit stop of the night. In the GT4s, Alex Freeman leading the way. He was at the front at the start, losing a few places on the opening lap and losing a few more after some contact, but he was able to work his way back up through the field. He also has to complete one more mandatory pit stop, as does the rest of the podium, and that being Diego Mostachero and Andres Mostachero in second and third, respectively. Then Justin Beachley in fourth, Potts Weaver in fifth. Dad's sad. Don't be sad, Dad, Eric. Everything will be okay. He's so sad. Yeah, the tricky conditions tonight certainly Catching a few drivers out with a handful of drive-thrus up until this point. Almost two handfuls now, really. Eric Vanderbilt taking a visit down the pit lane for the final time tonight. Andres Mostachero in the pits, joining Eric Vanderbilt, excuse me. Brian Zerline on the back of Eric Bukassian here. After serving that drive-through, comes out ahead of the Mustang. On different strategies here, though, with Brian Zerline completing both mandatory pit stops already. The V8 power of the Mustang, along with the Slipstream 8 of the Nissan, is able to get through, and by the end of the straight, pulls in front before the braking zone, and the 25 gets ahead. And Justin Beachley with another drive-through. He was running in fourth. That might drop him behind Potts Weaver and Brian DeSantiago. And it is Jim Reynolds right at the end of the pit lane getting serviced. Vladimir Beluga joins him to serve his drive-through, as the top four in the GT3s remain to serve that mandatory final pit stop, and same with the top two in the GT4s. Alex Freeman has pulled out quite a healthy advantage over Diego Mostachero in second. It's 18 seconds. Commanding drive here from Alex Freeman. He got knocked down, but he picked himself up. And he's back at the front with Ray Roman in his pit stall for the final time tonight. He pits from fourth. Mariano able to get through. Will Eric Vanderbilt and Devin Anthony be able to follow as well? They were battling earlier on. There is Eric Vanderbilt, and there is the BMW coming out of the pit lane. That's a position for Eric Vanderbilt, and he goes into the top five. Ray Roman does stay ahead of Devin Anthony. But Anthony on the warmer tires, trying to stay close to Ray Roman in front. The gap is right around 4 seconds. BMW getting a bit of slipstream from Potts Weaver. Helping him in his chances of trying to fight with Eric Vanderbilt for a spot in the top five. After the drive-through, Justin Beachley coming out behind DeSantiago. The gap is around 1.5 seconds. Gonna try and fight that and get a spot in the top 5. Getting close through turn 9. Is he gonna try a move into turn 10? Not quite close enough to do so. AMG versus BMW. As a little bit of room given in the final corner, Justin Beachley takes full advantage, says thank you very much. I will take that top 5 place. Dan Tazaro in the pits from second. Pit stop done and dusted. He is ready to roll out. Alex Freeman in the pits from the lead of the GT4s. A bit of a helping hand in the Nissan being given by Andres Mostachero in the 105. GT4 Aston, as he's kind of forced a little bit wide by the two GT3s battling their way through. But able to get back on the road before those track limit boards. And Ray Robin getting very close through turn 10 to the back of the Nissan. As we are under the 10-minute mark. Still 4 drivers remain to complete those mandatory pit stops. As it looks like they are looking to come in and just get the car refueled for a quick splash. But of course, the longest, or the shortest they can still stay is only 25 seconds with that refueling time in place. Oh, and Mariano gets a drive-through as he was having a pretty quiet race in 4th. I haven't really mentioned his name a whole lot, but getting a drive-through here. He will have to serve that within 3 laps' time. Brian's Airline closing the gap to Tony Gold. Right around 1.5 seconds between the BMW of Tony Gold of 9th and Brian's Airline in the 25 Mustang here, rounding out the top 10 of the GT3 field. 33 laps completed by race leader Ilpo Ruotsalainen. Still has 1 pit stop remaining. Which he must complete for the end of the pit window, or else. And Diego in the pits, the final GT4 driver to do so. Will he be able to maintain the position ahead of Andres? He has already had the car serviced, so he is rolling out of the pits, and he is comfortably ahead of the 105 and behind the Aston Martin. Or excuse me, yes, behind the Aston Martin of Alex Freeman. And with that, it's an Aston Martin 1, 2, 3 on the podium. It's down the main straight. Brian's airline closing the gap to within a second, but Brian DeSantiago now in between the two cars, making life a little more difficult for Brian's airline. But he is able to sweep on through between turn 2 and 3. Try and get right on the tail of the GT3 BMW he's chasing in front, and that black and red Coach Dave Academy 91 of Tony Gold. And there is Ilpo in the pits in the closing 5.5 minutes. After 34 laps of driving, he said, "This is enough, I'm coming in." Now it is all down to Kevin Yu and Eric Kukasian to complete their last pit stops of the evening. With 5 minutes remaining in the race and 4 minutes left in the pit window. Pit stop done for Ilpo. He is back out on the track. And just a few laps remain for him to close things out. Kevin Yu in the pits as well. He was able to get some good clean air running on the first stint. Try and catch up to Dan Tazara, wasn't able to do it on this one, as Dan already going through turn 2. Ray Roman still staying close to Eric Vanderbilt, in what is now a fight for 4th, after Mariano dropping to 7th after serving his drive-through penalty. And the 96 of Medeiros gets a drive-through from 8th. And Eric Kukasian in the pits to get that one cleared next to his name. And all the drivers are green and good to go to the end of the race. This is what the back of 4th place sitter Eric Vanderbilt's car is seeing. BMW getting a lot closer through turn 1 and 2. The Nissan able to pull away. Just that little bit he needs to feel comfortable. Not allow the BMW to attack. How close will the BMW get down the Mistral straight? He's already within half a second, and in the slipstream, Eric Vanderbilt pulls off to one side. Ray Roman getting closer and closer. When's the time for him to pull out? It's now. He's going to the inside, and now it is a drag race to the braking zone. Roman down the inside. Can Vanderbilt sweep and get the over-under done in a very sketchy part of the track to do so? He almost had enough room to get it done. But now through turn 9, Roman leaves just about enough space, but Eric Vanderbilt can't keep the grip down the inside to fight that position. So Ray Roman, with the slipstream move down the inside of Senior, gets the place and moves up to 4th. Eric Vanderbilt rounds out the top 5. But this fight isn't over yet, with Alex Freeman up ahead of these two.
Window is now closed.
Ray Roman couldn't find the space to work through and had to run a little bit wide at turn 12.
Who's on the final lap? Give it a final push.
And there you hear it, Ilpo Ruotsalainen on his final lap of the race, just behind these two. So these two will have 2 laps to continue to fight this one out. So Ray Roman on the outside going into turn 3, very late on the brakes from the BMW, and he can't hold it. Has to slow down through the apex of turn 4 and into turn 5. The Nissan gets the position. Lots of fights continuing to happen. Brian Zerline looking for 9th ahead of Tony Gold. What might even turn into 8th with Medeiros having that drive-through penalty. They're side by side going down the main straight into turn 1. Tony Gold down the inside. Zerline in the Mustang around the outside. Tony Gold. Good defensive stance from the BMW. Goes into the corner first and not allowing Brian Zerline any grip on that wet part of the track. But Brian Zerline doesn't care, and he tries to get the move, but there is side-by-side contact, and Brian Zerline just checks up. But Tony Gold gets a drive-through! Tony Gold pushed off the track and not slowing down enough, getting a drive-through right at the end. And look who's on the back of the BMW. It's Devin Anthony trying to fight for a spot in the top 5 in the closing 2 laps here. Ilpo Ruotsalainen is just behind the trio battling, so there will be one more lap for those 3. But Ilpo Ruotsalainen leading the way from start to finish in the 404 Lexus makes it 4 wins in a row here at Paul Ricard. Bow down, Ilpo. Great race from the Lexus. And Alex Freeman crossing the line to take the race win in the GT4s. An up and down race from him. I think he was back at 6th at one point and able to recover. But this is the battle we want to see here in the GT3s. It's Ray Roman trying to hang on to 5th from the hard-charging Devin Anthony in the 664 Honda. Oh, it's nearly bumper to bumper between the two. Dan Tazzaro takes the checkered flag to take the 2nd step on the podium in the GT3s. Diego Mostachero and Andres Mostachero round out the GT4 podium to make it an Aston Martin 1, 2, 3. Potts Weaver across the line in 4th in the GT4s. Mariano takes 7th across the line with Medeiros and Tony Gold both getting 30-second penalties at the end for not serving the drive-thrus. Kevin Yu takes the checkered flag and rounds out the GT3 podium. Devin Anthony trying to have a look down the inside, but he can't quite manage it, but he can through turn 9. A little bit of contact. The BMW just shuffled out of position there, and it is 5th place for Devin Anthony, unless the BMW has anything to say about it. Corners are running out for Roman to try and get that place back. Not that heavy of a braking zone coming up here as these 3 cars continue to battle, and with the last minute send, Roman trying to find the room at the apex of the final corner. None given by Devin Anthony, who hangs on to that top 5 position. Roman will close out the grid here and take 6th. So after the penalties, Medeiros in 9th, Tony Gold in 11th, Jim Reynolds gets a top 10 finish, but wonder if a stewards might have a look at that and give him that place back, given that the drive-through was kind of given based out of contact. But Alex Freeman takes the race win in the GT4s, followed by Diego Mostachero, then Andres Mostachero, And then Pottsweaver in 4th, and the grid is gone.
Give it all you can.
But we ran through it as they crossed the line. We'll go back to the studio as we wait for our podium sitters to shuffle in to the green room. And we will pull you guys in for a quick chat of how everything went on from their perspective. The GT4 podium sitters know how to do it. They're here and they're ready to talk. Welcome in, Alex, Andres, and Diego. How's it going out there? It was nice and wet, huh?
Just a little bit.
But hey, unlike races past, we have had the same condition from start to finish. No dry stints in there, but all wet running. But still, it looked like a pretty slippery one out there. Nice and fun. Alex, I think you lost a few places at the start there, and then there was a bit of contact earlier on. You were down in 5th at one point too, and back up to 1st, just like that.
I don't know about just like that, but it's a little bit of work.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I had some contact with. I think we just had top 4. Me, Beachley, Mostachero, and I think Potts. Like, we were all just scrapping for the lead, and came out the worst for it, unfortunately. But it's a long race, so it gave me a chance to work my way back through the field.
Yeah, it certainly did, and nothing to blame there. Yeah, just 4 cars battling hard for position, and just a little bit unlucky in the way you got spun around there too. But yeah, stuff happens. But hey, you fought back, and then Andres and Diego rounding out the podium there as well. You guys started from, I think, 5th and 6th, but able to move up to 2nd and 3rd.
I actually forgot to press drive, so I actually started in the pit lane.
That's right. Yes, you did start from the pits. Yeah, but up to 2nd. Maybe that's the way to do it. We've seen it a couple times done in the GT4s where they start from
right here.
Yeah, they start from the pits and make their way through just on race pace like that.
Yeah, I got the 3rd track limit pretty early, so the rest of the race was just praying and hoping not to step over the line like I usually do.
Yeah, there were drive-thrus getting handed out left and right, especially in those last 30 minutes. It seemed like just like 5 were just handed out right off the bat there.
Exactly.
You guys were able to avoid that, and good, clean, consistent driving pays off in the end. Andres, another podium for you. I think that's your 5th one now in the season.
I know. You know what? This track is. I hate it. I hate it. I can never get the rhythm down perfect, and no matter how many times I've done it, and how many times I've hated doing it, I can never get it. So, I mean, to finish on the podium, I'm happy about it. But I need to start getting into the P1, that dreaded P1. I can't get it. So, Freeman, if we're doing what are we doing next week? I forgot now, but
I forget as well.
Next week. Oh,
that's correct. It is the Red Bull Ring next week.
Oh, man.
Yummy. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a track. 4 absolutely heavy braking zones, lots of overtaking opportunities. That's going to be a fun one to look forward to next week. And yeah, with the mixed conditions we've seen all season long, absolutely anything can happen. I have a feeling we're cooking with some rain this season. I remember last season some drivers were complaining that what's up with all this dry racing? Where's all the weather? Here it is in this season.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about the rain, though.
Yeah,
no, you're good in the rain, man. You're stable.
Yeah, lots to look forward to. 2 races left. And yeah, you guys, with Justin Beachley there, I think, getting a 5th place finish at the end, that might shuffle some positions around in the championship, too. So yeah, it's going to be a great fight all the way to the end. You guys, as always, provide some great action throughout. Congrats on getting the podium tonight. Good luck in the remaining 2 races.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, thanks. Yes.
Not a problem at all, fellas. Happy to do it. Move you guys back here to the green room. And yes, next week here in this multi-class season, we go to Paul Ricard for the penultimate round number 7 of 8 at the Red Bull Ring. Tomorrow, iRacing gets their season almost wrapped up. I believe they're also going into round number 7 in their GT3 and GT4 Multiclass Championship going on tomorrow. We should have a stream going on as well for that one. Friday, we go to Le Mans Ultimate for another Multiclass Championship. There we have the Hypercars and the GT3s doing their 75-minute races. No racing on Saturdays, and then on Sundays, it's back to iRacing for the MX5 Cup. On Mondays, we head over to the GT4 rookies for their round number 7 going on at COTA next week. And on Tuesday, it's the GT3 sprint round in Le Mans Ultimate. And work is getting done on getting the spring season set up, so be on the lookout for when those get announced in the Discord, and the signups, as always, will be open on SimGrid. And we shouldn't be having too many format changes or anything like that. And yeah, lots to look forward to in the springtime. LMU getting that hypercar tire update as well. So might provide quite a challenge to those on Friday. So yes, join us for that. Join us for all the rest. Thank you, as always, for joining us and being our lovely crew and chat to watch along with the races here tonight. Thanks to all the folks doing the hard work in the background, getting everything stewarded, managed, and running smoothly as best as they possibly can. Thank you for joining us tonight. Join us tomorrow for iRacing. Let's get a raid going here. Check out some other sim racing going on tonight. Let's see who we have streaming some racing. In the spirit of the MX5 Cup, let's give a big Trackalicious raid to MX5 Cup all day. In a bit of a spoiler of what you can see here on Trackalicious on Sundays. Stick around, tell them Trackalicious sent you. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.